Okay, so making the bread. Um, we're trying to make this sourdough here. What we're gonna need is a starter. So I will start off by showing you how to make the starter. You'll need rice flour, which is a specialty item. You'll need regular all-purpose flour. You'll need whole wheat flour. A cast iron Dutch oven is super important for this to work out. A scale, and this is all available in the Tartine cookbook. But it took me a while to understand and do this correctly, so I thought I could just show you how to do it, so there weren't any questions. Let's get started. So you need a starter to get started for sourdough, and that's super easy. The first thing you're gonna do is take whole wheat flour and white flour at a 50-50 ratio by weight. So here we have some whole wheat flour, and this is my my food from the mother, which I need to make more of. And I'm just going to add in some flour. So here, whole wheat flour. How much do I got? All right, 600 whole wheat, and then 600 white. And then you're gonna add basically a ratio of 1-to-1 of water to this mixture, and let that sit. And then the next day, you're gonna take 50 grams of that, add, this is from the day before. So this is your starter from the day before. Take 50 grams and add 100 grams of the flour mixture we just made and 100 grams of the 80-degree water. And you repeat that every day. And what's gonna happen is the bacteria are going to start to grow in there, and you'll see the yeast rise. You'll see the starter rise up every day, and then you'll take a little bit of that and you'll start the next day. And what you're looking for is a nice consistent rise. It should take 2 to 3 days, and you'll start to have a starter that you could use. After a week or two, it should be nicely established and working really well. If you're in a real hurry, you could add a little bit of yeast to it to speed up the process. But the idea is you're just going to mix this with flour and water and replace a little bit every day. So here is my starter from the day before. And let me get the flour here. I need to add another 600 grams of the white flour. And this doesn't need to be terribly exact, but close enough. So this is the food. And then we'll do the new starter for today. Okay. $50 grams of the old stuff. And again, if this isn't right down exactly, I've got 57 in here. It's close enough. Now, warm water is important. It's not hot. I've done this enough times to know what the temperature feels like, but you don't want this hot. You really want it about 80 to 90 degrees. 100 grams of water. And stir that up. So you want the starter from the day before to sort of disperse here. And then some more food. 100 grams. That was a little too much. Okay, 205 there. Total. So now, stir it up. And I like to mark on here when you're every day. the level so you can see that it's been rising. Just kind of mix it till it's dry. And I like to clean down the sides a little. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so now you can see it's there. We're gonna mark on it. So you can watch the status, and I put what day it is. This is day 12 on this starter for us. Okay, so you'll see this should probably double in size before tomorrow. And then cover it on the counter, nice 70-ish degree place, and you're good to go. Okay, so these videos are shot in different orders, so forgive this, but this one is step one. Once you have your starter started here, we're going to then add 200 grams of your starter. You're gonna need a scale. So add 200 grams of your starter, 700 grams of 80 degree water, roughly just, it should feel slightly warm to the touch. And then you're going to add 900 grams of white flour and 100 grams of wheat flour. And then you're gonna use your hand and mix it. It doesn't take long. It'll be kind of messy. What you're looking for here is to just you want to mix it until basically all the dry parts are gone in here. And really, your hand is really the only way to do this. And don't worry, if you have germs, it's going in a 500 degree oven. They'll be gone. So, it should look like that. Your hand will be really sticky. Here's what it should look like. And take this and just, you got a dough scraper. It's a pretty handy tool, or a spoon, or whatever you've got. You can scrape your fingers off, because you don't want to throw that dough away. Now the next step is to let this rest like this for 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes, we're going to add 50 grams of water and 20 grams of salt. Talk to you later. It's been a few minutes, 30. So we added 20 grams of salt, I'm about to add 50 grams of water to both of these. So now just get in there and work it all back in. It's gonna get a little sloppy. It's gonna break up a little bit. That's okay. You just want to work that water and that salt into the dough. I think he's just landed on the dog. Okay. And so that's kind of what it should look like. I work this until it kind of comes back together. And notice like this idea of like taking the bread here and pulling it over and pushing it into itself. This is sort of the, okay, so take a look at that. This is what you're gonna be doing now. This is the folding and the turning. Okay, so it's starting to come back a little sticky now. Okay. And that's kind of what you're looking for. Notice when we fold this, the folds immediately come out. Right, so it's not, so we take a fold, pull it over itself, right? And that's what we're gonna turn the bowl, fold. And now the bowl's starting to clean itself again. That's what we're looking for. Okay, that's all. Okay, we're done with this. Okay, so now that we've worked the salt and the water in, we're gonna start doing what's called the bulk rise. We're gonna let this go for half hour at a time for 2 hours, and every half hour we're gonna come in here, get your hand wet, and fold the dough over itself, like I showed you earlier. I'm just gonna do this a few times. The bowl should come clean, and you're gonna do this. I usually do it about 10 times. Turn, fold, turn, fold, turn, fold. And we're gonna do this every 10 minutes. Cover it up in the meantime. Keep it in, someplace 70 to 80 degrees so it can rise. This is called the bulk fermentation.
Every 30 minutes.
Every 30 minutes.
Not 10 minutes.
Sorry, 30 minutes. Yeah, okay. What are we still recording for? All right, so it's been a half hour. So to get your hand wet, we're gonna turn the bread. So you just reach underneath of it and pull it up and over itself. As you can see that it's coming clean from the bowl here. It's still pretty sticky, but you can sort of get a feel. Notice that it holds itself a little bit longer in the fold, right? And you know, just a few times here. It's starting to pull away from the sides of the bowl now. You can hear that. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Right there, as it's nicely cleaning the bowl. Okay. So there's that, and here's another one. You can see the difference in the texture here. So now, this is kind of, you can't really overdo it right now. But as time goes on, you're going to want to be a little more gentle with this. So after you get into about hour 2, you're not going to want to do this as vigorously. Okay, so this is, now you see it kind of how it's holding. Here, look at this. See how when you do it, it's sort of not falling right back in to fill the bowl. It's kind of holding its shape a little. That's when you know it's starting to work. Okay, so we're going to continue to do this. I'm not going to show you each time, and then I'll get to the, after about, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours of this. You don't need to do it every half hour. But you want it, it'll start to get really billowy. It should almost double in size. And when it does that, you're ready for the next step. All right, so now the dough has been bulk rising for 2 hours. It's sort of gotten larger. So now what we're going to do is do the initial shaping. So we're going to pour this bad boy out onto the surface here.
What's the best way to do that?
Just like that. And now I'm going to put some flour on there and flour it out onto that surface. So now we're going to stretch this out here and fold it over each other. So once that way, once this way, once that way, and then once this way. And then if you can get a couple more folds, but you don't want to be too rough on this because this is nice and billowy. You notice how full of air this is. So we want to keep it surface. We don't want too much flour, but you want enough here. So now we're gonna take our dough hook, or not dough hook, our
Dough scraper.
Dough scraper, and use one hand and sort of shape it into this loaf here. And this is gonna fold out a bit. We're gonna let this sit, so just shape it into this ball. This is just the initial shaping, okay? Right, and it's nice and smooth. I'm gonna let this sit here for about half an hour, but I've got another one to do, so I'll move it over here. Now, you can also cut this in half and make 2 small loaves, but I'm just gonna make the double loaf that I've been doing lately. So here, watch, same process over again. Okay. stretch it out. Fold it over. Careful not to like really, don't want to really beat on this and get the air out. You want to leave that air in. So there we go. And again, you don't want to drown it in flour. You just want enough to work with it so that it doesn't stick to your hands. All right, so there we go. We're gonna let that sit for half an hour. This is the original rest. And we're gonna come back, do the same thing. When we come back, we're gonna flip it over, fold it a few times onto itself, and then shape it again. And then from there we'll go put it into a bowl to rise. But all right, so we're back. Now, these guys are flattened out a little bit. So this is the time to, we're gonna reshape this. This is the final shaping. Okay. So I'm gonna turn this, peel it up. Where's my guy? There it is. So now we're gonna flip it over. So we always want the same side on the bottom. And we're gonna do the same thing again. The folding and the stretching. And this really works the air into it. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. Okay, that's good. If you do it too much, you'll sort of tear this skin. See, this forms a skin that's, I don't know how to explain it, but you'll feel it. Yeah, it's the skin. I don't know how else to explain it. And here I see I actually just poked it and it's tacky there. So you want to try to avoid that if possible. All right. But if you do, it's no big deal. It's just bread. There's kind of a lot of flour on there from earlier, so I wanted to, you don't want too much extra flour. And here, again, we're gonna stretch it out and fold it. And just be kind of gentle. You don't want to overwork it. Okay, so now you've got a couple choices. You can leave this here for a little while to let it rest. But I have found I've had the best results with now taking this and letting it rise in the bowl overnight in the refrigerator. So it's putting it in the refrigerator slows down the process, but it allows the fermentation to get a little bit more of a tangier feel to it. And here, so this is where the rice flour comes in. You need to make a 50-50 ratio of rice to wheat flour. And you're gonna wanna take your towel that you're gonna rise it in and sprinkle it here. And then also here, right? You don't want it to stick to the towel. So using your bench knife, we'll drop it in. Take the, notice I flipped it upside down so that the skin is now on the bottom. And then I'm gonna cover it with some more of this rice flour and cover it up. I probably should have unfolded that first. Oops. Notice keeping it the skin on the bottom. Okay. So skin on the bottom. Okay. And then it's ready to bake in the morning. You can do it all in one day, but that means you gotta start early. And that's annoying. And I think the best result is letting it rise overnight in the fridge. Okay. Here, take our loaf, drop it in. Okay. That's it.
How you feeling today?
Feeling good.
Guess what?
What?
April Fools.
Oh.
You really love.
It's you, babe.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not recording. Who do you really love?
I already told you, it's you. Okay. So, last step, baking. 500 degree oven. Warning. When you turn your oven to 500 degrees, you will burn anything that's in there out. It will be smoky. So just warning. And what you want to do is you want to preheat your cast iron Dutch oven. The lid and the oven. So this is really, really hot. So I recommend being very careful. This is going to the hospital time if you burn yourself on that. So keep that at 500. You're gonna pull this out. Now we're gonna take the rice flour mixture that we used yesterday, and we're gonna sprinkle some of this rice flour on the bottom of the pan. Okay, like so. And you can see it's very hot. Now we're gonna take our dough that we've been rising in the fridge. So let's take a look at that. Okay, we're gonna take this up and gently set it in the bowl and turn it over at the same time. So here, and then with your towel, gently roll it over. Now, take a very, very sharp knife. It's got to be like razor sharp, and cut some slits in there. The slits are really important. And if the dough is cold, it's a little easier to do, hence the overnight thing. Okay. Now we're going to cook this covered with the lid on at 500 degrees for about 21 minutes. This is going to let it steam. So this is, in lieu of having a steam oven, this is what we do. Alexa, set a timer for 21 minutes. Okay, and then once this is done, we are going to pull the lid off, adjust the temperature down to 450, and cook it for another 21 minutes, and then immediately lift it out of the pan and let it cool on a rack, and you're done. So, thank you. Okay, so Alexa, stop. So now we're going to change the temperature to 450. And remove the lid. So here you should see, oh yeah, nice, just starting to brown a little. It's steamed in there nicely. Okay, and we're gonna add another 20 minutes. Alexa, please set a timer for 20 minutes. So it's been another 20 minutes. Ooh, yeah, perfect.